call the Criminal Justice Public Safety Committee meeting to order at 10:23.
Yeah, thanks. Right, we're gonna reload.
Do we have a quorum?
You don't miss your committee meetings from the announcement, do you?
Okay, we have a quorum present. First order of business to accept the meetings, the minutes of our last meeting. Supervisor Garrity, Supervisor Driscoll on a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. First up today is probation.
Yes, good morning.
Morning, Mr.
Report here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Ms. McGowan.
just to go on the record that my wife does, just to call her my wife now, does work for the probation, so...
Okay, thank you for bringing that up. So extend, excuse yourself as you see necessary. No, thank you. Yes, Bob, you have the floor.
What we have today is action agenda on a couple resolution requests that have to do with filling vacant positions due to retirement and one resignation. The first one is to fill a vacant position by Mike Byrne, who is a probation officer and a senior probation officer also. Mike worked with our department for over 30 years and recently retired in May. So I look to fill that position. His duties included working in schools in Hadley, Luzerne, North Warren, Johnsburg, as well as providing supervision for PINs, person in need of supervision, juvenile delinquents, and doing pre-sentence investigations.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Supervisor Garrity. Second by Supervisor Wild. Any discussion on this? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Second one is to fill a vacant probation officer trainee position. We had an individual in that position and it wasn't going to work out, so he ended up resigning. So we will also look to fill that position. That's an entry-level position within our department.
Okay, thank you. Moved by Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor Wild. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
And the last one is to fill the senior probation officer position due to Mike's retirement. What we will look to do is to promote a probation officer within our department. Senior probation officer title carries about $2,500 more in salary per year. And it includes some enhanced duties, specialized caseload, and other specialized assignments we would give that individual.
Okay. Moved by Supervisor Simpson, second by Supervisor Wild. And discussion, Supervisor Bramer.
I see on the agenda it says an additional $2,500 in salary. Is that in your budget?
That's not what
I'm sorry.
I didn't say that, but it is.
Okay.
Yes. And the intent is to fill from within. Very good. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you. Pending items?
No pending items. Discussion issue is raise the age comprehensive plan of financial documents was sent to the counties in the middle of June, about 2 months behind schedule. In typical state fashion, what they're looking to do is to get our projections of what we believe this will cost us in terms of services, probation, personnel, program, what the Department of Social Services would need, Sheriff's Department, Transportation, and anybody else that would be affected by it, the office, county attorney's office, public defender, a gamut of what the county is looking to do. As I've said throughout the last year, the state has not made this easy in any fashion, and this document is not easy. It's complicated. We have to justify everything we're looking for, though they already know what they're going to give us based on numbers. The numbers, interestingly enough, are you have to go to multiple websites to get the information that's projected by DCJS. You fill it in, they've assigned values of what they think particular cases are worth, and again, there are certain programs that they will approve. We knew what they were. We've been working on one, some of them through last year, but just the complicated process of the document that supposed to be a process that, according to the state, was going to be seamless and effortless, and they were going to cover all the costs. And we were finding out that's not the case. With that said, we've been working on it for the last month. What I will do in this week is reach out to our other agencies within the county to see what they're looking for, and we will look to wrap this up in the next couple of weeks. I will say, I think that what we're looking to add at budget time may fall a little bit short of what the state is going to give us for dollars, but we can talk about those things. The interesting part of the way the state does this is they're on a different fiscal year. So their fiscal year goes from April 1 to March 31st. So they project numbers starting in October of what they think this will cost the county. So basically our fiscal years are going to clash a little bit. But again, those are some things at budget time we can work at in terms of what we think the revenue will be and what we think the county cost will be. The other interesting part will be, there's a lot of interesting parts, but the other interesting part is how fast are they going to reimburse us for money? What kind of vouchering process are they going to expect the county to do to get this type of money? Again, they said they were going to make this relatively easy, but if you look at this document, it's not relatively easy. Other things that I think are of concern is with this population, a lot of what we talk about is providing programs for these kids, because if we don't provide programs, then we just simply raise the age beat into these things. We've been working on programs. We have programs in place with youth court. We have electronic monitoring for alternative detention, and there's a few others that we're working on. What we're going to have to do is to contract with some agencies that we want to work with, so that takes time. And also, if the money is not given up front to the county, that's another potential issue that we'll have to deal with. So we got a little bit of work to do, even when we find out what the dollar amounts we're going to get. Like I said, the contracting process, that takes time. So there's a lot to do with this for a small amount of money that we're going to get. The good thing is we are not a large county, and the numbers that we have, I think, will trickle in at a manageable pace, so we won't be overwhelmed like larger counties maybe, where they're going to hire 10 people already to get in gear for October 1. So it's something we should be able to manage as it comes in. But again, we want to make sure we do a good job and do our due diligence with the financial report so that we're documenting reasonable costs so we can get back what we believe that we should get back.
Supervisor Wild.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I recall correctly, there was some discussion about housing. And from what I remember, there was, should we do something ourselves or should we contract with another county to do that? Have we gone through those options and evaluated those different options financially and say which one might be best for us going forward? Just from what I understand, it could be, it could be a revenue opportunity for us for nearby counties also. At least that's what I thought I recall.
Well, I think there's always the potential for it to bring in more revenue, but what we have is detention beds in the state of New York that we're talking about, and there's limited amount of secure detention facilities in the state, so there's already a shortfall of beds because the capacity is going to be more than what it can currently handle when this goes into effect in October, and then when it goes into full effect next October. So there's potential to have they're going to have a shortfall of detention beds. So with that said, we typically use the Capital District Secure in Albany, where we don't really place anybody in detention, but when we have to, we use it. And hopefully we can access that detention facility when we need to. In terms of getting together and building a facility, We looked at the old jail, and I think the cost of even looking at that were $8, $9, $10 million for a small amount of number of people that we would have. I guess the question would be, is Warren County ever interested in going out and reaching out to the other counties to see if we wanted to build a detention facility someplace that's regional and go from there? I think the interest for the other counties is waiting for someone else to take the lead because someone's going to have to put the money up front to do this, or a population we may or may not have come into our facility. On any given day, we would expect to have 0 to 5 people in the detention facility, probably closer to 0. So I think the best course of action would be to track our figures for a year and see what we come up with. Do we really need to do anything? Do we really need to go in with somebody else? I don't know if there is the fortitude for other counties to go forward with a multi-million-dollar project where someone would have to take the lead.
So you mentioned 0 to 5. Is that a historical average that we've had max 5 over the last 10 years? Or?
Those are numbers based on the 16 and 17-year-old population, what they believe there would be on a given day. We haven't placed anybody in secure detention in years. With the 16 and 17-year-olds, now we can't put them in jail, so they have to go.
I understand.
But the numbers they figure are based on the calculations of 16 and 70-year-olds that end up being incarcerated. So those are projections by DCJS based on existing 16 and 17-year-old arrests and where they end up in the system for their sentences.
So if I may, going forward then, next year when there's going to be a capacity shortage in housing and beds, what's our thought? What's our fallback? What's our plan?
Our plan would access the facilities that we currently have. We have a multitude, we have different types of services we have for alternative detention, electronic monitoring, reporting to supervision. People would report to our department. I think what a lot of counties are looking for is to see if the state is going to open up any of their facilities, allow counties to put kids in there for detention for a short term. If we have individuals that are sentenced to what would be a state prison sentence, then they would go to a state-owned facility.
So I'm just looking to, as we go forward, to have some kind of contingency plan that looks at different scenarios, say how we might address those going forward. That's all I'm looking for. So, you know, as you bring back more information, I think that's what I'd be looking for, sure.
Absolutely. You know, and I don't know what the county wants to do in terms of reaching out to the other counties. There is an inter-county committee, maybe bringing that up for conversation with the counties in the North Country. I know St. Lawrence looked at it, and they didn't want to do it.
Bob, and the responsibility of this raise the age falls on your department?
Both on the county, not entirely with our department. We do diversion work where kids come into our county. Diversion work where we divert cases so they don't go into family court, they don't get placed. Majority of cases will come through that. The individuals arrested for felonies are called youth offenders. They will go into a youth part of the county court that's manned by a family court judge, and a lot of things that happen there will be a decision of what happens in the judge. Whether the district attorney's office chooses to prosecute them as felons, whether they choose to indict them, the seriousness of the case. So the diversion work will certainly be our responsibility, no question. But collectively, this reaches out to a multitude of county agencies where, we have the public defender maybe involved, assigned counsel for other types of legal things, county attorney, and the district attorney.
And you're the point person on that part, or should we be...
We have one. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Go
I'd like
ahead,
to
Mr.
recommend that between you and our county administrator, we assign someone that's overall responsibility for this, because if we spread it out, things are going to fall through the cracks.
No, I will say Bob has done an excellent job. We need to designate one agency as the agency that fills out the form, the actual plan, and Bob has been filling that role, as well as working with all these other departments in conjunction with me. We speak on a regular basis as to how the other departments are interacting. We are sending individuals from those other departments to training. I believe it's either at the end of July or the beginning of August. DSS, for example, will have a better idea of what they want to do when they come back from that training. So the model that we've been using so far, as I said, is Bob has been the point man, and he and I speak regularly about how it's going.
Good. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes.
The difficult issue is retention. What do we do with that in the future? There's no question. And it costs a lot of money, and if the county chooses to do it, they're going to have to put the money up front and get reimbursed. So that's something we want to do. I'm all for it. But I think we need to look and see what our numbers are going to be before we jump in. There's still a lot of unanswered questions, and there's been a lot forced on the counties with basically the infrastructure not built.
I will say Warren County is very lucky to have Bob, because he, of all the county probation directors in the state, is one of the more knowledgeable ones in Raise the Age.
Thank you, Ryan. That's a questionable outcome. It's an ongoing process that there's a lot of questions.
And thank you for keeping us apprised of that as well, especially as we're coming into budget season and things are up in the air. We might need to plan ahead on these unknowns.
There's a lot of unknowns.
Good. Thank you, Bob. Next on the agenda is Sheriff Office.
I'm just saying, do you understand?
Under Sheriff Flammery.
Yeah, but I'm looking at that agenda, like, Romaine Tech or whatever. How am I keeping that on any of those county businesses?
That isn't Warren County topic for the 18th.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, sir.
Relatively short agenda today. Item A is request a resolution to amend the county budget to reflect money for insurance recovery from motor vehicle accident.
Okay, motion to come to the floor, Supervisor Wild, second by Supervisor Simpson. Any discussion? Okay, here's the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries.
Item B is request a resolution to enter into a new contract with Chicks Marina to provide emergency routine maintenance to the Sheriff's Office.
Okay, to the floor by Supervisor Simpson, second by Supervisor Garrity. Supervisor Bramer, go ahead.
Since this is on here, can I ask how's the activity going on the lake from the sheriff's perspective?
Well, I was out last night, and I wanted to go out myself with my guys. They actually made a BWAI arrest that's never been had before. There's been a couple of BWIs. I think the activity out there is, you go out there yourself, you look, you see a lot of the campsites are not rented, so there's not a lot of boat activity that has been in the past, but so far this summer, with the state police, park commission, and us, I think we've made four arrests related to drugs or alcohol.
Can I just follow up on that? I see that the DA is not here, but maybe you know the answer. Are they still having the same kind of difficulties with prosecuting people based on the older language in the BWI?
I honestly can't answer that, Sean. Well, I don't know.
I have not heard there's any difficulties with that.
Okay.
I don't know if it's changed. I
Okay.
don't.
I'll talk to the DA. I hadn't heard that it was changed from...
I don't know.
Supervisor McGowan.
Yes, I'd just like to applaud the Sheriff's Department for all the hard work on keeping up with the patrols and that, and the other agencies, something like the state police.
Yeah, thank you.
The word that I have got now, feedback, people are actually scared to come to the lake and party anymore. So I was down at Lake Sagandaga, and they're a little bit more lax down there, I guess. So you guys are doing a great effort, and I thank you.
Yes. So we have a first and we have a second. All those in favor for item B?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Item C.
Item C is request a resolution to amend the current contract that we have with Tyler Technologies to change the licenses that we're currently using for civil division software. When we got this brand new software, it came with the Best way I can describe it, 3 desktop licenses, 3 mobile licenses. We found that the mobile licenses are very restrictive. They don't have all the permissions allowing you to do all the things that they would like to do. So we're exchanging 2 of the mobile licenses back to buy another desktop license. That's the change.
After this, and you have money in there?
We get
Okay. Moved by Supervisor Garrity, second by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? Supervisor Watt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sean, the 2-for-1 exchange, I recognize that, laptop versus mobile is a bit different, but was the recommendation to originally do this, 2 and 2 or 3 and 3, by the supplier, or was it something that we made a choice on?
It was by the vendor, and it was also feedback from our own civil staff. The 3 mobile licenses were based on the fact that we have 3 officers in the field doing this.
Sure.
When they come to me and tell me that they have to take turns entering stuff at the end of the day, because we have the 2 clerical staff are using 2 of the licenses, so it means there's only 1 desktop license available to use. So they have to take turns to get stuff in. It's not efficient use of time.
Not efficient.
So I'm just curious if we're just pushing back on the vendor a little bit to say maybe give us another desktop or save us one of these mobiles.
I negotiate as best I can. The fact that they're giving us a credit for the mobile licenses is, I think, a good thing.
Okay.
I will vouch for John, there's not a better negotiator.
It's good to know, sure.
And unfortunately, a desktop license costs significantly more than a mobile license.
Yes.
Thanks for looking for those efficiencies. We have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Item G.
Request a resolution for a new contract with First Light to provide Ethernet 100 meg service to the Route 149 radio simulcast site. You'll notice that the price is $990 a month, which I realize is sticker shock. But if you're not aware of it, we're paying almost twice that for service that we had going to Hague to the radio tower up there. And that served an incredibly small area up there. We have shopped around for prices. Verizon gave us a price that was almost double what First Light is. And we already have other contracts in place with them now that provide service to the county as well.
With First Light here, you already have resolutions with First Light, did you say? Or
We
with
already have
Verizon?
contracts in place with them for other locations.
Yes, yes. It is sticker shock. Is there, okay, Supervisor Simpson brings it to the floor, seconded by Supervisor Wild. Any further discussion on this? And this is all part of the package of getting the 149 site up and going.
Correct. And the actual billing does not kick in until we call for the service. The billing doesn't kick in until we actually call for the service to start.
Okay.
The reason you see that I signed the service order form is we save thousands of dollars by when they actually run the lines in. If they construct it right the first time, they don't have to come back and redo their work.
It's always helpful. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. Item E.
Item E is request a resolution for a new contract with Hanks Quality Flooring to replace walk-off carpet tile and replace broken floor tile.
Okay, moved by Supervisor Garrity, seconded by Supervisor Simpson. Any discussion on these? This is general maintenance items
Yes.
here.
The floor tile, we've been open since 2004, and the floor tile on the entrance is starting to fracture and get right up.
All right, call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Next.
Under topics for discussion, there's actually 2 things I want to discuss. One's only listed. We currently have 2 vacancies for correction officer. They've filled 7 vacancies since our last committee meeting. The other thing I'd like to discuss is we currently have a contract for a software product called I Am Responding. The contract expires the end of August of this year. There was a lot of discussion about this last year. It was pushed forward by the Office of Emergency Services and then ultimately put under the budget for the Sheriff's Office. The best way I can describe it is when we took this system on, we looked at it as a means where we can get assets quicker to where they're needed. The problem we have here is, I realize you can't see this, but see all this red in this column? That's terrible. We can't get agencies to use it. We can't use this product reliably. We can't dispatch based on the information that we have on a video screen in our office. I'm advocating we don't renew this. If the agencies want to keep it for themselves, which some of them were already previously paying for it, let that cost be borne by those agencies. I don't see how this is a benefit to the sheriff's office. I don't see how this is a benefit to the county right now.
Yes,
Can you
Supervisor
tell me
Driscoll.
some of the agencies that are currently using that, John?
Bay Ridge Fire. The important thing is when you look at this, and I should make copies for you, it's one thing to have their apparatus listed, what's available, but it's another whole other thing, especially with EMS, to look at who do they have on duty? Do they have BLS? Do they have ALS? Some of the busiest agencies in this county, EMS-wise, don't input any of their data, and we can't use it. And that was the goal, to be able to look and say, hey, they have the assets over in this community. Instead of paging, let's reach out, get that asset moving. We can't do that based on the system.
So are we sharing that cost, or that's our own individual cost that,
The 19.2,
yes,
it's borne by us.
okay.
Prior to that, there were several agencies who were already paying for it on their own.
Okay. Supervisor Wild and Supervisor Brainerd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just for the committee's information, I was driving on Bay Road last week, maybe the week before. There were 4 EMS vehicles responding at about the same time. West Glens Falls, Glens Falls. And I just saw that and I'm going, what a waste of resources and time to have. They're almost like ambulance chasers, right? That system would be a great thing. I don't know why we can't try to facilitate the use of that, but to have multiple agencies running around wasting their time seems like a true waste.
What you have is, and you'll movie, what we have here is a failure to communicate. You've got coherent. Every agency is territorial. You ain't going to tell us what to do. We don't want to do that. I think it's imperative for each town supervisor that has an EMS or that they're dealing with an EM to put the pressure on. Hey, we're giving you the biggest problem seems to be in the biggest residential areas. So I mean, they're giving each of these EMS a lot of money to operate, and it's just there's no coordination, there's no leadership, and it's we're tired of being in the middle again. We can't force them as the sheriffs, so why should we spend $20,000 of our budget to put something out that's going to help everybody, and they just basically do this? So that's my perspective.
And just to follow up, if you don't mind, Supervisor Conover, can we have a meeting before we pull the plug on this? As an at-large, I'm at a bit of a disadvantage, but to me it makes sense because, as the sheriff mentioned, it is a waste of resources and money that is provided to these organizations. It would be prudent to at least have a conversation to say, you guys, can we look at this? Can we do this? Can we save the town some money? And maybe I look to you or maybe our chairman here to pull something together to make that happen.
That's a good recommendation. Supervisor, just so you're aware, I attend the fire advisory board meetings. I've had repeated conversations at the meetings. Attend the EMS advisory board meetings. I spoke with the EMS advisory board chairperson. Said we have no leverage to make these agencies use it. The town supervisors were told when this product came along that they would have the power to make them use it. We can't get them to use it.
John, I was told you're a good negotiator.
I'm good with money, but
We have no power.
She can,
No.
We're not
Supervisor.
going to strong arm anybody.
that's a good recommendation.
Yeah.
I think that's a good recommendation.
We'll coordinate this.
We have EMS meeting and kick this around.
Yeah, to me,
Okay.
it's easy, Craig, it's an easy do. You're the town supervisor, you start pulling money out, you're going to use the system that's going to help everybody, and we're pulling the money out. That's the way it works.
because some of the reason for not using this is so that there's not full disclosure on really what's happening in the field there, isn't it?
Bingo. They don't want them to see what their real activity is.
Okay.
Just one more follow-up, really quick. I'll be really fast. Sean?
Yes, sir.
When do you have to make a decision on the contract?
For the end of August.
End of August? So we have a little bit of time.
Yeah, we have a
Thank you.
month there. Supervisor Bramer.
Yeah, thanks. I did support this. I thought it was a really interesting, neat idea to help us collect data, but if these people aren't using it, then why should the county be out money? I mean, there are some that are using it, so I don't want to pull the rug out from underneath them. But I've also heard that there is sometimes they're able to respond back to the operations center and they feel like it's pointless to respond through the thing because it's too slow.
We have, if you want to pass that around, you're going to see you have a number of agencies up north that don't use it because they don't have access to a cellular signal or to internet while they're out in the field, so to speak. But we also have agencies right down here in Queensbury that don't use it. And when I'm told that an agency won't put their information into the system, because if they put the true and accurate information into the system, that the town would realize that they're not meeting their obligations under whatever contract they have with them. And I've heard that from multiple people.
So there is some of a technology concern, but that's not everything.
And I certainly understand why, Garnet Lake and these companies up north don't use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Supervisor McGowan.
I just, I was going to say something, but actually, Sean just really answered the question. I think, like, they're scared through the figures of the money that it basically gets down to how much money they're going to get. And I can see from listening to the conversation and why it wouldn't work that way. So it'd be a system that if we're going to use it, and we're going to pay for it, then everybody's got to be up front. If not, it's not worth the money.
The way it's working right now, we cannot dispatch based upon the information based on it, which means that information has no value.
Yeah, it's not working. Supervisor Wild and Supervisor Bramer, then I have one.
Mr. Whitehead and Supervisor Beatty talk about transparency. This sounds like it's an opportunity to be looked at.
An opportunity.
Yeah. Supervisor Bramer.
I think I should probably not say what I was going to say.
Oh, go ahead.
No, it boggles my mind. It makes me a little bit nervous that we're going to some sort of county situation for EMS. If they can't work together this way on sharing information, how are we going to do a better job sharing services?
They don't want to control. They don't want you county employees. So Glens Falls Fire is a great though. They got their phone. Glens Falls Fire is a great.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
That's not going to impact us.
No, not really.
As these other guys.
Okay, there's,
Before you go, we need to,
yes.
gotta have an answer about SDPA, what's happening? What are you guys
Okay,
gonna do?
first let's take care of this issue in front of us with the IM respondent there. I get a sense from the committee here that we are willing to forego Sheriff Department renewing the contract and it being in their budget because it is incomplete and not providing the services. We've tried it for a year. We've monitored the responses. We see that it is, we have not had our desired outcomes with it. So at this point, even though it does have the opportunity, we have one month, perhaps we can bring this in under OES and see what they can say because they do have relationship with the EMS and with fire. And perhaps we can the town supervisors also work with these local independent agencies and to see what we can come up with in the next month. And if we don't, we gave it a try to see how it goes. So, do we need then any particular motion for the Sheriff Department at this time? We have a contract, it's set to expire, it's under the Sheriff Department. Can we do a wait and, a wait and see, or is there any directive coming from the committee at this time for this? Do you need directive?
I like your idea of going to OES.
Yeah, seems like it's, yeah. Well, and we'll work on it in between here.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Yes. So let's bring up SPCA. I must report, I met with the president of the Warren County SPCA the other day just to check on, their position, what they're able to do, and, come up with filling the gap. How is this gap going at the Sheriff Department at this time?
What we always do, we're answering the calls with our police officers.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll call the appropriate town. It's my understanding, I think Supervisor Garrity and some of the other supervisors, they're going to hire, I think Jim.
Yeah, I'm telling they're gonna hire August 1st, I gotta just put them on our payroll.
Okay, and that's as an independent contractor,
As an employee, part-time employee in the town.
part-time,
Independent contractor.
okay, and but it says him himself, not through WCSPCA. Correct, okay.
Jim Fitzgerald.
Okay,
I guess
yeah.
my concern was, were you guys going to put it out to RFP for anybody that wants to offer the services that they have?
Offer the services, we
Because
do.
the SPCA, their bid is out the window because they're no longer
Right.
employees left.
So we're back to square one, aren't we?
Square one. Are you going to put another RFP out to see if anybody bids on it for the county contract? Or are you not going to do that? So I have some direction.
That's right. Were there any modifications to be made to that last RF?
I think you'd have to talk to Julie, but maybe modify it a little bit, put basically the same one out.
Yes.
If not, they don't bid on it.
We do need to follow up on this. We do need to cover these services on a countywide scale. So I'm in favor of putting an RFP back out. We can talk with purchasing on that. Is there to be let's have a resolution from the floor to cover that? Is that the way to go? Yes. Consensus of the committee.
You just mentioned you were gonna, edit some of it, or there's things you want to change?
We'll review, because if there's certain things that are limiting factors of getting response, on there, we'll keep the meat of it, of the things that are, and review that with the Sheriff Department, Sheriff Office, so.
Well, I defer to you folks.
We have to
I'm happy with the
review.
last one.
Okay.
Whatever you folks want to do is good. We're going to keep doing what we're doing.
And Sheriff, you weren't sure if you really wanted to keep this contract under the
Well,
Sheriff
absolutely
Department.
not. I don't want
Okay.
anything to do with this anymore. I got more calls and,
Okay,
no, I just don't want to.
okay. Yes, so
Thanks.
Supervisor Bramer, then Supervisor Diamond.
I know there were concerns about when the RFP went out last time that it was too limiting, but in my mind, it was available for anyone to bid on and then input your qualifications.
Right.
List those things that we asked for, do you have them or not? I mean, and it was sort of then we would score it, whoever has the best price with the best services available. And keeping in mind that this is not an animal control officer. Those are hired by the towns. We just heard Jim's going to be hired by a town, individually. This is for services that the county needs to provide.
That's right, following up, doing the animal cruelty, doing investigations. Mm-hmm.
Animal cruelty investigation is what the county is responsible for.
Supervisor Diamond, then Supervisor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I received a packet on Friday that, in that packet, it was a copy of the original RFP that was sent out. Also, there was a packet by the Warren County SPCA, which now they decided to disperse. But there was also a proposal in there by upstate New York's SPCA. I wonder if we had any discussions with that organization in regards to their proposal. I don't think they were definitive in their cost, but I don't know if this board has met with them to interview them in regards to how they can assist the County, it looked like that they were offering assistance on a case-by-case basis, but they really didn't have a number attached to that. But would it make sense to talk to them because they were an additional respondee to the RFP before we send out another one and try to figure out what their proposal really meant, if anything?
Yes, purchasing did have discussions with them, talk about things. We will need to pick that back up because they are an agency that does have the ability to do this, but they did not fill in those blanks, so.
Could it be worth our while to, at the next meeting, to schedule an interview with those people and ask them some questions at this board? Maybe 15 minutes to get a better understanding of what they're proposing before we send out another RFP?
I think some of the RFP has to do with our purchasing policy, so we do need to follow our purchasing policy. So it's the value of their services that would kick in whether or not there's an informal discussion or if we need to go through our process so it's fair to all concerned.
They met the RFP requirements when they responded back. So my question again to you, Mr. Chairman, is couldn't we take 10 minutes of our time of this board and meet with those people and have them explain, similar to the option that we gave Warren County's SPCA, which they chose not to attend that meeting and discuss that?
My concern with the upstate, the SPCA proposal, and those who also read the proposals can agree or disagree, was that they essentially offered us services that were remarkably different from what we were looking for. We were looking for more hands-on assistance in doing animal control investigations, for instance. They seem to be saying that's a law enforcement's job. We will not get involved in that. We will assist in transporting animals and making sure vet care is done, and we will provide testimony as to that sort of thing. But it was my interpretation in reading their response that they were essentially disagreeing with the services that we put out there and saying that they would be willing to provide a much scaled down set of services.
So, is it your opinion that it didn't meet the requirements of the RFP?
Yes.
And are you going to respond back to them with a letter?
I can check with Julie that already happened, yeah. I will
I
check.
don't completely agree
I don't
with your
agree with that either,
interpretation
necessarily.
of what their proposal was, and I think publicly, in an effort to be fair, we should offer them an opportunity to sit down and explain their proposal in detail. That's my thought.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
I don't agree with that either. I do feel like they were responsive as far as the services that they were providing. That we asked for animal cruelty investigation services. They just didn't give us a clear price. I thought they said they would do the investigations and put together a portfolio
They did say that.
of their investigation and provide that to the prosecuting agency. Maybe it's worth a look going, I don't know.
We can reach out to them and do a follow-up, invite them back to explain. Don't want to hold up the overall process, though. If we are to put the RFP back out, what comes first?
If it would be the pleasure of the board, maybe we could schedule a meeting within the next 2 weeks.
In the next 2 weeks, okay.
Have them come in, offer the opportunity to come in and interview. If they choose not to, okay, we give them a chance, but prior to the next board meeting, so we don't slow the process down.
Just with the negotiating committee, you mean? That kind of
Well,
thing?
I think that the board, the members of this board here,
With this committee.
this committee, the committee, would like to ask questions and get a clear understanding of what they proposed and go from there.
What's the pleasure of the committee?
There's a timeline ahead. There's no reason why we couldn't schedule an advanced workshop committee or whatever we want to call it.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the committee on that recommendation by Supervisor Diamond?
I think we should understand what she proposed.
Okay. We'll Yeah, Chairman?
I think it would be helpful also if, Ryan, if you, on one sheet of paper, you could put down what we're responsible for, what the county is responsible for under state law. And
Our
so that
attorney
we have
provided that.
absolute clarity, you know, as to what it is that under law we're responsible for, because if towns, for example, begin to move forward to hiring their own animal control officers, if some of those responsibilities are naturally going to fall to the animal control officers, then there's going to have to be some type of an arrangement between the county and the municipalities, if only in terms of authorities inside their own money. So it's going to need to have some kind of clarity in terms of what we're going to do going forward in terms of responsibilities.
The county's legal responsibilities fall under two broad categories. One is rabies exposure, potential rabies exposure. The health department handles that. They have all of that covered. We've reviewed it. The other is animal cruelty investigation, prosecution, the whole criminal end of that.
Just break that down, even if it's just a paragraph, you know, just a line item on what the responsibilities are.
Steps included in
Try to
that.
stay focused on what it is that we as a county.
I have not looked over that personally, but we'd be happy to, you know, take a look at the RFP and, you know, make sure that everything is listed out clearly. I do think that, you know, we also want to make sure that we're following the county's purchasing policy before you guys sit down with SPCA of Upstate New York. It's my understanding that the bid was rejected because it was not responsive. And so I think we just need to make sure that we're following the purchasing policy. It may be that we need to start the RFP process over.
It wasn't mentioned in my packet that it was rejected.
I will get clarification from the purchasing officer on that. Julie, it was her opinion that their response was unresponsive to the RFP.
So going forward, if that's the case, can we include that in the packet so when we pick up our packets, we look at it as if we've got two proposals here. One proposal they chose not to participate, and the other proposal is just sitting there in limbo, wondering what happened. That's my position.
Supervisor Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is, since public health has a substantial role in this entire process, have they ever been invited to participate in the
Yes.
deliberations?
Yes, yeah, they were on the committee that drafted the RFP.
Okay.
The RFP did not include the services that public health is already providing. It included a requirement that whomever we hired to do these duties would interface with public health in instances of possible rabies exposure.
But wouldn't it make sense, though, that that if they've had relationships with specific individuals or organizations, that they should be, at least their input should be solicited?
Oh, absolutely.
In the future?
Absolutely. Yep. And we did when we drafted this RFP, and if we do go out with another RFP, we'll do the same.
Thanks.
Okay. Sheriff.
Go ahead. I'll stand out of this.
No.
Whatever you choose, remember, I've heard in the past, there are people that are saying, oh, leave it to the sheriff or leave it to the state police. That's their job. Get them more training. Can we do investigations? We're very good at investigations. Animal abuse investigations, we're not trained in them. Can we do the investigations that we do for the state? Yes. But it's always important for us, as the police, to reach out to a knowledgeable individual, an animal control officer, somebody who's done this before, to come take the animals away or give us their perspective or give us their experience. We have to have them be available to come out to do this. So that's what we, as I can speak for the state police, whoever you get somebody that's going to be responsive, somebody that knows what they're doing, and somebody that's going to be able to take the animals away, be able to testify in court. Talk to Jason and his crew. You don't want somebody that knows how to testify in these cases because they become very emotional. You got to have an expertise on that. So can we do it? Yes, we can, but we knows their stuff and is reliable. I don't care who you are.
Okay. Thank you, Sheriff. Okay. So we will check in with guidance on purchasing policy before we go ahead and invite Upstate back to the table to discuss. We will be in touch with purchasing to look at the RFP and getting that back out as needed. We have the consensus of the board to move forward with us to fill this gap. So. Under Sheriff, anything else? Okay.
If I could just ask for an update on the jail population. We discussed a spike last month where we had to outboard some inmates.
We're still researching it, and I did tell you I would give you an answer, and I don't want to give you the answer because I don't have a 100% answer. I got a piece of the answer, but I want to be accurate. So we're meeting with the district attorney right now to get some more input, and I will give you those.
So you still have the
why it's up so much.
Still have the issue that it's
Yeah.
up. Okay.
Do we have any immigrants? I know I asked you this before.
Okay. Sure. We've had them in the past. We don't have any right now.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff. Thank you, Under Sheriff. If there's no other business to come before the committee at this time, a motion...
Public defender agenda, but she...
Oh, my gosh,
She's been waiting here patiently.
Right, we're an hour and 15 into it. Okay. Okay, on to public defender. This will be covered by Administrator Moore.
I did.
A discussion item, it looks like, for the 5th Assistant Defender new hire.
Yes, last month, this position was filled on an emergency basis due to the public defender's staff being down, and they had an individual who was highly qualified, and there was some time constraint in getting him on board. So with the chairman's approval, with the approval of the personnel chairman as well, we move forward and approve this with the intention of coming back to committee this month and reporting that we had done so. It was in the interest of keeping the office running, essentially.
So the 5th Assistant Public Defender is hired?
Yes.
Is working?
Is hired and working.
So, good.
Started on July 9th.
Thank you for that update. Any other items to come before the committee at this time? Hearing none, motion to adjourn. Supervisor Simpson and Supervisor Garrity on second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Yeah.